The information shared in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only and is not intended as medical advice. We are not medical doctors. Always consult with a qualified healthcare provider before making any changes to your diet, lifestyle, or wellness routine. The content of this podcast should not be used as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Listening to this podcast does not establish a doctor-patient relationship. By tuning in, you acknowledge that any health decisions you make are your own responsibility. Take what resonates and always listen to your body.
Welcome to the Tula Ananda podcast, where we talk all things whole life living, blending Ayurveda, ancestral wisdom, and a modern approach to well-being. I'm Elizabeth.
And I'm Devon. We're here to help you bring balance, vitality, and a little bit more ease into your everyday life without the overwhelm.
Think of this as your go-to space for Ayurvedic insights, timeless traditions, and practical wellness tips, served up in a way that actually fits your life.
So grab your tea, get comfy, and let's explore how ancient wisdom and modern living can come together to help you feel your best. Welcome to Tula Ananda. Let's get started.
Welcome to Tula Ananda, where we infuse modern twists into the wisdom of Ayurveda, yoga, and other ancestral teachings to help you create a balanced, vibrant life. I'm Elizabeth.
And I'm Devon. We're so glad that you're here with us today. Whether you're brand new to Ayurveda or have been dabbling for years, today's episode is for you.
We're diving deep into Ayurveda 101. We'll cover what Ayurveda is, explore the 3 doshas in more detail, and share some everyday practices you can start right away to bring yourself into balance.
And because Ayurveda is all about connection, we'll be sharing personal stories, the real-life aha moments where understanding our doshas completely shifted how we live.
So Ayurveda means the science of life in Sanskrit. It's a holistic system of healing that's been practiced in India for over 5,000 years. So it's been here for a lot longer than we have.
Yes, absolutely. And depending on who you ask, it can vary too.
Yeah.
It's so old that we don't even exactly know how old it is.
Yes.
One of the things that I love about Ayurveda is that it's not just about fixing problems, it's about living in harmony with your natural constitution, your environment, and even the seasons.
Exactly. Ayurveda teaches that we're made up of the 5 elements: ether, air, fire, water, and earth. And these elements combine to form 3 energies, or what you may have heard referred to as doshas: vata, pitta, and kapha. And your dosha is basically your body's blueprint. It affects how you digest food, how you think, how you respond to stress. Pretty much everything is impacted by your body's blueprint. Before we dig into each dosha, let's share how discovering our own dosha changed our approach to health. So for me, I'm kapha pitta, with kapha just a little bit higher than pitta. And discovering and understanding my dominant doshas has meant giving myself a little bit more grace and also changing the way that I approach life. My pitta often wants me to push myself a little bit more than I probably should, because my kapha is not as fast as I always want it to be. So kaphas are steady and kind of slow and dependable, strong stamina, but we're just not really fast. We take our time, we take in the sights, we smell the roses.
Whenever I think of kapha, I always think of the sloth in Zootopia. It's like, I feel like that is
the kapha.
That is like,
there's no rush.
The full spirit of kapha.
Yes.
And it's an exaggerated version, of course. Most of us are not quite like the sloth, but it's kind of like the full extreme of kapha.
That is the full extreme of kapha, yes. We are very happy to go at our own pace, and we are not going to hurry up for anybody. So just giving myself permission to be slower than others especially like when Devon and I work out a lot together, and Devon is Pitta Kapha. So she's fast and she's hard and you're great and you work really, really well. And
But I'm not as fast as a Vata though. There's a difference.
No, that's different. Yeah. That's a different kind of fast.
Mine's more of like a medium
yeah.
kind of fast.
But just giving myself permission to be like, that's okay. I'm going to stay over here in the slow lane. And I'll get there eventually. What about you?
So I'm the opposite, actually, of you, Elizabeth, which you know. So I am Pitta Kapha, and sometimes my Kapha is the one that it kind of wants me to slow down. And I actually think I do better when I lean into my Pitta a little bit more, which is funny because I think it's a little different than you. I think because I have a lot of imbalances in Kapha, even though it's not my main one, but that's kind of where a lot of the imbalances show up. Not that I don't have the tendency at times to be imbalanced in Pitta, but that's not the one that I struggle with, I think, on a personal level. It's more of the Kapha that can kind of make me want to just take a nap and I get frustrated because I can't do those things. And then that's the Pitta that gets that, but I actually want to. So I have to find this balance, I think, actually for me between the two of like pushing myself when it's appropriate, but also having time in my day to make sure that I slow down.
Yeah.
So I think, and I think it is really all about balance, regardless of what your dosha is. I think if you can just, even if you're a Vata, that can also be like really fast. I don't consider myself actually as fast. I consider myself more as like in the middle, because I definitely have people in my life that are Vatas, and they go ahead of me.
They go super
They're
fast.
very fast.
But then they're also winded, so there's that.
So I'm not that, right? I can keep going too, just like the Kapha. Like I have that stamina because I have a lot of Kapha in me, but I can go kind of at a medium pace. But I think I do best when I am in the middle, like when I'm honoring where I am at any given point and being mindful really of how I'm feeling in that moment.
And that's kind of the whole point of Ayurveda, is finding that middle ground where we feel balanced, right? So that's the goal.
Absolutely.
So we'll back up just a little bit so that you guys can understand a little bit more about the doshas that we're talking about. There are 3 types, and they are Vata. This is the dosha that's made up of ether or space and air. And you can think about that as the ether, that space, it's ready for creation. So Vata is like the wind, it's light, mobile, changeable, creative. It governs the movement in our body, our breath, our circulation, and our nerve impulses. And Vata body types tend to be thin with difficulty to gain weight and muscle.
So when Vata is balanced, you'll see creativity, enthusiasm, flexibility, and quick learning. I think of my Vata friends, they're usually the ones that are bursting with ideas. They might be full of laughter and always ready for a spontaneous adventure. They are the dreamers, and they tend to float through life from one adventure to the next. So if you are a Vata person, you may identify with this, but if not, you probably know people in your life that are in this category for sure.
My husband has Vata for sure. I think he's Pitta Vata, but he has a lot of Vata qualities. And so when Vata goes out of balance, it can cause anxiety, restlessness, maybe trouble sleeping, dryness in the body, and digestive issues like bloating or constipation. These are things that you might notice if you have either a Vata imbalance in your body, or if you have some of those imbalances as a Vata dominant type.
So if you're listening and thinking, oh, that's me, here are a few ways to bring Vata back into balance. So one thing that can be really helpful for Vata is warm, grounding meals. So things like soups and stews and cooked grains. And also sticking to a consistent daily routine. This is really important because Vata can sometimes, especially if it's out of balance, you can kind of feel like you're all over the place, which doesn't help by the way our society is structured either.
Yes, we have a very Vata society.
Yeah,
we are encouraged to take on more than we can.
Absolutely. So even if you're not Vata, you may have imbalances in Vata because it is a big thing going on in all of our lives with all the things that we're juggling, maybe not having support systems like we would really need to help us create balance and some other things. So, I know even for myself, even though I'm not Vata normally, but if I get out of balance, sometimes I can really feel that Vata. And stages of life, you might feel this more too. So also another thing that you can do to help ground Vata is to incorporate calming practices. So things like meditation, slow yoga, and deep breathing. So one thing about the slow yoga is because Vata does like to move, I found that it's helpful for Vata folks to have a practice where they're moving still because they want that, but to get them to kind of slow down with their movement.
Yeah. More of a grounding, like a
slow flow. But, doesn't have to necessarily mean that it's totally static. Maybe we can get them there eventually, but maybe at least starting off with some slow movement. If you kind of think of, even with children, like getting the wiggles out, sometimes Vata, that can be really helpful for Vata. Getting the wiggles out. Not that they're children, but it is like a child that has all that energy. Vata has a lot of energy.
Definitely.
So starting with a little bit more movement, I think, can be helpful to get them into their bodies first. And then you can kind of slow things down a little bit more.
It's one of the things that I'm envious about with Vata types because they have so much energy and they just go and they do and something that can happen sometimes with all that movement and activity is burnout, where they've just kind of exhausted themselves. And so learning how to slow down and balance that is so important for them. And then it'll help with their sleep too, especially if they tend to have that insomnia that where you can't settle down at night because you've been constantly moving all day.
Yeah. Again, it all just goes back to balance, So for Vata folks, it can be helpful to kind of take time in the evening to really start to slow down and get ready for bed. Maybe more than some of the other two dosha types.
A little extra grounding.
Depending on the Vata. Sometimes they can just crash too because they do too much.
That is true. That's a different kind of sleep. You're exhausted.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you want to talk about Pitta? You're Pitta girl.
Yeah, so Pitta is made of fire and water, which is really good because we don't want all fire. I mean, there's a lot of fire in Pitta, but the water kind of helps to kind of put a little of that fire out. It's the dosha of transformation. Pitta governs digestion, metabolism, and the processing of information. Pitta body types are medium height with good muscle tone, and they tend to have an easy time staying at a pretty good body weight. They're kind of in the middle. I always think of Pittas, they're in the middle of the other two doshas.
Yeah, definitely. They have a balanced Pitta has a strong digestion, radiant skin, mental clarity, a natural drive to achieve. And these individuals like to make lists. This is actually one thing where my Pitta does come out. I love making a good list.
Me too.
Checking things off.
I have a daily Post-it note on top of my calendar so that I can reprioritize for that day what I really think I can get done, and then we'll see if the other stuff.
And then you can mark it off, and yes, it's very satisfying. And when you are balanced in your Pitta, you can eat anything and burn it off quickly. These are the people that, and I remember being like in my 20s when my Pitta was a little stronger, and I could sit down and eat like half a pizza and it was fine. 3 dinners, no problem. Yeah. Now that we're a little older, probably it's not the same for me for sure. But those are some of the qualities that you might notice in a Pitta friend, and also that they can become a little hangry going too long between meals. This is definitely something that happens to my husband, and sometimes he's not even aware, and I'll be like, did you eat anything?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh no.
And that's probably his vata too that's
Yes.
in there, because I don't have a lot of vata, so I actually will never forget to eat. a true
imagine
pitta
forgetting
that
myself.
is dominant pitta will not forget to eat.
No.
Like, I'm already thinking about the next
meal.
Like after I've had one meal. So yeah, I'm not going to forget to eat. There's no way that that's going to happen. Pittas like food, and they want to know when they're, and there's like that anxious quality with pitta, with food, like, because the metabolism is higher, you know that you're not going to feel good if you miss a meal.
True. Very true.
But when pitta is aggravated, you might see things like irritability, frustration, overeating, inflammation, acid reflux, or even skin rashes, judgmental attitudes, and even fiery irritability. And I definitely know that when I'm really out of balance, in summer I have to be more careful too with my pitta. Those are definitely things that I struggle with. If I'm angry, I know my pitta is out of whack. For sure. And I need to do things to cool it down a little bit. So I'll share a personal example. So like too many spicy foods and things like that in summer. I love, as you know, I love spicy food. Like, I could put spice on everything, like really spicy too. And in the winter, I can really like get away with it. You know, it's fine when my pitta might not be as high, but in the summer, because it's already all that heat and everything, it's already aggravated. And so I have to be more careful, because I will start to feel, not necessarily acid reflux for me, but I will feel like a burning in my belly. Like, I'm just like, okay, like my fire is very on. So cool cool that fire down. Have to be careful a little bit with the spicy food in the summer. But there's also this thing in Ayurveda where like increases like. So if you are something, like, you probably like it. So like, I'm pitta, that fire in some ways feels familiar to me. So of course I like spicy food because I like the fire. But I actually need to do more of the opposite in the summer. You know, cooling foods like cucumber, coconut water, watermelon, things like that. Because if it gets too out of hand, then I will push through work deadlines. I might end up irritable, grumpy, snap at people, and have those digestive issues.
Yeah. And it's interesting because for me, being pitta is my secondary, summer is usually my favorite, like towards the end, like where we are now, because my pitta is higher, so I have all this energy that I don't usually have the rest of the year, and I'm like, this is great. And then I tend to take on more than I should. But,
yes.
So pittas, to stay balanced, like you were saying, eating cooling foods and spending time in nature, especially near water, to have, and this is maybe why you like the beach so much, like you have because that pitta in you needs to embrace your water.
I will live by a coast someday.
And giving yourself permission to rest.
Absolutely.
As a pitta type.
Yeah, and pitta types, watch that inner perfectionist. I know that, especially when I was younger, this is something I struggled even more with, this, idea of perfectionism. I had to let a lot of that go when I started my family, because you can't really expect yourself to be perfect when you are a mom of 4 kids.
It's not possible.
And a dog mom of 4 kids. It just doesn't exist. So
8 kids.
Yes, I do. So you have to, I've had to let this go, but it was something that I did struggle a lot with when I was younger, and actually would get headaches if I put too much pressure on myself. So sometimes just, having something done is better than perfect. I've had to let go a lot of this like all or nothing attitude. I even did it with my yoga practice. For years I thought I had to do an hour-long yoga practice for it to count, and I've learned that it wasn't until I had my 4th child and she was a little baby and I didn't know how long she was going to be put down for her naps, I realized 20 minutes is okay, and actually consistency is better daily, even if it's 5 minutes.
Even if it's 5 minutes, yeah. Even if all you can do, especially like moms out there, if all you can do is breathe for a minute.
Yes. Yeah.
That's,
all or nothing is not a healthy attitude for balance at all. So give yourself permission to ask for help if you need it. Avoid trying to take on all the tasks yourself. Slow down and take in the scenery, all the smells.
Smell the roses with me.
Yeah, slow down and just rest. Rest when you need to, and don't worry so much about that perfectionism.
Yeah, it's hard though.
It is hard.
So let's talk a little bit about kapha. Kapha is made of earth and water. We're like mud, and a lot of the characteristics of kapha is a lot like mud.
That's so funny. I've never thought of you as mud before, but okay.
That's how I always think about it.
That makes sense. just the elements.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
So kaphas are stable, grounding force in the body. Kapha governs our structure, immunity, emotional steadiness. It's kind of like the glue that holds us together. It's the lubrication in the body. And kapha body types tend to, it doesn't necessarily mean that you are always obese, but you tend to be a little bit more padded, a little more curvy, and typically the kapha body structure has bigger bones.
So balanced kapha is strong, compassionate, loyal, dependable, and calm. I always like to say that kaphas make the best of friends, and I have one. So, they are just so sweet, and when they're in balance. And, physically you can kind of think, I always think of like Arnold Schwarzenegger back in the day, like kind of showing my age a little bit, but like back in the day, that is kind of like kapha. It's going to be really easy for them to get strong.
Yeah.
So these are the friends you can call when you need comfort and when you need someone to listen to, or listen to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When out of balance, kaphas can be, we lean into that muddiness, we get a little sluggish, weight gain can happen, congestion, mucus, especially, in the respiratory area, sinuses, and I know that's one of the things you struggle with some of the kapha. Mm-hmm. And also emotional heaviness, which can, because that sluggish, slow energy can kind of hang around when you're out of balance, it can lead to things like depression, inactivity, and also greed and hoarding. If you know a person who has a lot of knickknacks or collects things, they might have a little bit of kapha in them, or a little bit of a kapha imbalance.
And like going back to that extreme example, of like the sloth before, same thing like with hoarding is like an extreme kapha imbalance.
Yeah.
Like holding on to things. Not being able to let go of things.
Overly, kaphas can tend to get overly attached to things. And not just things, but ideas of things. And they can get stuck in routine because they're so attached to the ideas of...
Yes, my 9-year-old is like... I haven't quite figured out yet if she's kapha vata or vata kapha. I think she's kapha with vata imbalances is what I really think. But she definitely has that kapha tendency to want to keep all the toys. Like if I'm going to get rid of things, it has to be when she's not around. Like it's an emotional. It is like you are taking her soul away.
And she'll remember. She'll know you took those stuffed animals. I'm sorry to tell you.
And there's no reasoning. There's no reasoning with her either on why maybe we can make space for new things or nope. We're just going to keep it all. So anyway, to balance kapha, some things that you can do are eat lighter, warmer foods and spices like ginger and black pepper. Get moving daily. Kapha does not always want to move.
This is very true.
So
if you start a class in Shavasana or you put us in child's pose at the beginning of the class, we will be the last one to get up. Start moving.
Yeah. Get moving daily. Even short bursts of activity throughout the day can help. You know, again, going back to that not all or nothing thing, but like even just little things throughout the day, even just short, can be really helpful.
Something that I personally work on a lot because I have a tendency, if I am working on a project, or even doing something fun, like when I was little, I would be playing and I would put off like going to the bathroom or, you know, doing whatever I needed to do. I think in particular the bathroom thing, because it's like I would just wait and hold it and hold it and hold it and hold it. And then eventually it's like, oh my God, you have to go right now. And it's still a thing in my 40s where I'm just going to finish this one thing first because I'm just focused on it. And
that might be your pitta too.
It is a little bit of the pitta too, but it's definitely the kapha that is like, well, we'll just sit here.
Like switching from the next thing. Yeah.
So I'm really trying to incorporate more little bursts of movement throughout the day.
And also just trying something new to break out of routine. Kaphas really like things to be the same, you know, so it can be good to really mix things up and try new things.
Yes. When I'm balanced, I will actually, if I sit too long, then I'll know, okay, well, I need to move. I need to get, like, this is getting too stagnant.
Yeah.
Too much in the mud.
Yes.
Kaphas do thrive when we get inspired by things. So taking on like a challenge or a new adventure can kind of get the kaphas to light up, and giving yourself time to take on a fun new activity or a house project, trying a different route home. We tend to stick to our routines, and it's actually really good for your brain too, to kind of vary those things or try a new recipe. Like I said, kaphas love routine. They love the comfort of it. It's cozy, it's warm, it's familiar. But really, we feel much better if we change things up a little bit. And if we do our exercise like more early to mid-morning, because kaphas, if you haven't worked out by the time you get home, you will probably not.
Yeah, and even though we're opposite, I'm the same because I have a lot of kapha in me. Like if it's 4 o'clock, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's bedtime then, 4 o'clock. It's late in the day.
So here's the thing. Your dominant dosha is your nature. And most of us have 2 that will influence us. So we kind of shared that with you. I'm pitta, kapha, and Elizabeth is the opposite, kapha, pitta. So when we think about these dosha influences on us, it's important to know that all 3 doshas shift depending on the season, your lifestyle, and even the time of day. And I would also add in there, like, the season of life that you're into, because I know we've already kind of talked about that, like the eating the multiple dinners when you're younger and snacking and how you can get away with it when you're younger. But all of us our bodies will shift as we get older in different ways. And like right now as women, we're going through perimenopause. And so we have to deal with that too. on top of what we already have going on.
We're moving into the more the vata part of our life transition.
We're trying to, but I feel like when you go through perimenopause,
we're like pitta vata mess right now.
Yeah,
perimenopausal transition.
Yeah, I kind of feel like with having the kapha that we both have, it's like trying to hold on a little bit more of that kapha before we can get to the vata.
Just not ready. And so I don't know if we mentioned this before either, but we all have all three of the doshas in us. And so you have one or two that you're more dominant in, but we do have all three of these. And then it shifts with your life, with time of day, and also with the seasons, like in fall and early winter, where we're headed right now. This is more the Vata time of year. Late winter into spring, you'll have more Kapha, and then summer, as we've talked about a little bit, that's going to increase your Pitta. So it's, in order to stay balanced, it's helpful to keep in mind, okay, what season am I in relation to the influence of my personal dosha type. So for me, being Kapha Pitta, I need to be a little bit more aware, especially during late winter, because Kapha is my dominant dosha, and I'm going to have the hardest time staying in balance during that Kapha period, because it's just going to kind of increase it. And then in spring, as well as in the summer, to a lesser extent, because Pitta is my secondary, but I do have to be aware that that's going to be another time that things could go out of whack.
Yeah, and because we're just reversed with ours, I'm like the same as you. But a person that leans more Vata, they're going to need to be more mindful in the fall, like when the transition between summer and fall happens. If you notice that that's a time that you tend to get more imbalanced, then that's just something to keep in mind. And you might very well be a Vata person, or maybe have it as your secondary one, if nothing else. So it's not about being perfect. It's about noticing when you're starting to tip out of balance and gently bringing yourself back. So if you eat a pint of ice cream, for example, in the winter.
Absolutely done this. 100%.
I have too, especially during my first pregnancy. I don't know why. It was just all about the ice cream.
Oh my God, me too. I thought that when I was my first pregnancy, I thought that meant I could eat all the ice cream I wanted.
Yeah. It was, really? Kyron was, all, and it's funny because I think she's like, Vata Kapha, I think. But anyway, so if you're eating ice cream a lot in the winter and you're already a Kapha person, so that, you might just kind of keep an eye on that. You want to eat more lighter things, increase movement, reduce the excess Kapha. And
it's all about, I like the, gently bring yourself back. This is not like we're so hard on ourselves a lot of the times, especially about what we eat. And, it's fine. We're not meant to be perfect. It's not even possible to be perfect. There's no way to accomplish that. But staying balanced is just a matter of saying, okay, I ate that. And now maybe tomorrow I'm going to add some spices to my soup and, just balancing yourself that way and not... Yeah. Because we have to be mindful of how we're speaking to ourselves too.
Right. It can be really easy to feel like we've done something wrong.
Yeah.
When maybe we tip the balance a little too far, in one direction. And, we know... I know that I have tendencies too. Sometimes when I'm stressed, I'll eat more. But... that's a sign for me that I am out of balance, and I need to pay attention to that. It's not necessarily that I'm eating. That's just a symptom of it. It's what's the real problem. The problem is I'm out of balance and I need to come back. And so not feeling bad about the choices you make. We should never, especially with food, never feel bad about it, but just what can I do to get back to balance?
Yeah, just being aware and using your tools.
Yeah. For sure.
One of the things with Ayurveda that helps us to stay balanced is, and I know we've talked about this before in podcasts, and we talk a lot about these, but doing a cleanse. So every season, it's helpful to do a cleanse to get yourself ready for that next season. Through the studio, the Day Yoga that my beautiful friend here owns, we do a seasonal cleanse to maintain harmony of our connection with the shifting doshas and our own doshas. And so doing these cleanses, we prepare the body for the influence of the coming season. And then it's a little bit easier to stay balanced during that season. So it's kind of like, if we're going into fall now, we want to kind of clear out some of the pitta that has built up. And so we do a cleanse that kind of focuses on that and getting us ready for the grounding foods of fall. If that's something that you are interested in doing, I'm going to do a little shout out here. We do have a cleanse coming up very soon. So you can join Devon and I for that. I think September 26th, something like that.
I think that's when you need to sign up by, but
Okay.
it starts, I think, in October. But it is on the website. And we're recording this in August right now, so if you're listening to it at a different time of year, just keep in mind that you can wait for the next seasonal shift is when you want to cleanse. So even if it's not fall, then like let's say it's winter, looking forward to cleansing maybe, where that transition happens between late fall and early spring. And so anytime where there's like a major, the seasons are really shifting. And it's really two main times that happens in a year. So, winter to spring, summer to fall. So
yeah, and it's important to keep in mind too that where you are location wise, it's not necessarily like August, or I don't even remember what I think September 20th is like the official
like around the 20th or 21st. Yeah,
but it's really when that the shift in the weather is happening for you wherever you're at.
That's a good thing to point out, because I know we're in Ohio. I feel like sometimes you can feel a little bit more of that summer kind of lingering even into October a little bit. So it kind of just really depends on where you are. And if you're more south, it may not be until more like later in October, maybe even closer to November, depending on, I used to live in Houston, and I know that it feels more like November. That would be a good time maybe to do a cleanse. So you kind of have to gauge where you live on where those shifts might take place. But after you do complete a cleanse, the best thing that you can focus on, or even if you're not cleansing but you just want to do things daily, eating seasonally is like the one thing that I recommend to my clients and people that I work with. Is if you're not going to do anything else that we do in the Ayurveda world, eat seasonally. That is like, in my opinion, the best thing that you can do for yourself is what is available. Like right now in Ohio, we have tomatoes, we have cucumbers, we've got watermelon, we have cantaloupes, things like that. That's what we should be eating. There's only a few things that I'm a firm believer on, and this is one of them.
This is one of the main things.
I am a believer that the earth provides what we need depending on where we live.
Yes.
And that has gotten really complicated because you can go to the grocery store any time of year and find anything. And so some of us are even a little disconnected from what is actually available seasonally. So if you're not sure, look it up, or go to your nearby farmer's market, and assuming that they have grown their stuff locally and not gotten it from another location outside of your area, then it should be what is in season. But that is like the best thing.
It's the easiest thing you can do too. It's so good for you.
Yeah. So again, we kind of mentioned already, that fall, winter time when Vata is high, eating foods that are more grounding and warming, which makes sense because it's colder. So that's normally a time of year when the root vegetables are in season, squashes, heavier dishes are more common. I mean, if I'm going to make really heavy dishes, I don't do that a lot, but it's going to be, in Thanksgiving. It's or Christmas time, that's when we get those rich dishes, and that is the time to eat those shepherd's pie, porridges, hearty stews, and soups, and things like that. And then in late winter, when we're transitioning to spring, or like approaching that transition, we start to shift to kapha, and we want to start choosing the spicier foods that build that heat and the warmth in the body. So soups and stews with rich, nourishing broths, pepper and spices, because even though we're kind of looking forward to lighter more lightness actually as we approach spring, we're still kind of holding on to that kapha, and we still need to do things to to keep things moving, and that's why those spices and the warming foods are really important. And then also that time of year around spring, trying to avoid meat and dairy and things that are cold. You want to save your cold stuff for the summer, which is what you'll be talking about next. So
so the summer, and we've kind of mentioned some of these already, the water-filled foods, and if you think about some of the things that Devon has mentioned already, they're full of water. Cucumbers, watermelons, cantaloupe, zucchinis, tomatoes. They're all really juicy, and they have these cooling waters that help to chill the pitta in the season. And also greens and salads and lots of water. This is the time of year for some of those really cooling dishes that you might not normally eat during the other seasons. And like we said, eating seasonally is the easiest thing that you can do to stay balanced, both with yourself and with the rhythms of the earth. And just sticking with what is available and local, if you can. And if not, if you are shopping at the grocery store, again, just be aware of what is actually in season for you, and try to stay away from some of the out of season things. So whether you're Vata, Pitta, Kapha, or a mix, like most of us are, tend to have one dominant and one secondary. For Devon and I, ours are very close, and so when we talk back and forth, it does kind of seem like, oh, well, they have a lot of things in common, and we do, but there are still subtle differences between us. For some people, you may have one that is very dominant, and you'll definitely know, I am Kapha all the way, or I am Vata 100%. And so it just varies from person to person and what your particular makeup is. And then just using the tools that we have, Ayurveda. This is why I love this, because it's like, this is how you live. It's like, these are the tools that you didn't know you needed to survive life here as a human. And it really makes it so much easier to stay in balance.
And I love it too, because it acknowledges the differences that we each have. So much information that is out there is about trying to put everybody in a box. Like, here's a diet for everybody to follow, and it worked for me, so it should work for you.
It definitely worked for you.
And if you've ever been in that boat where you heard of a diet or some kind of, workout program or anything at all, and you've tried it and it didn't work for you, there's a reason for that. And it's because of Ayurveda, and it may not have been the most compatible for your doshic type. So it's just working with who you are, balance, and it's really about listening to your body. Your body is always speaking. So if we just take a moment to kind of slow down, listen, and Ayurveda will help you understand what you need to do to take care of yourself.
It really does. It sounds so simple, and it is in a way, but it's hard as well.
Right.
To be, because we are human and we have those imbalances. And
we've been thrown out of balance too. Living in this world that we live in.
Yes.
There are things that are always going to be in front of your face trying to pull you out of balance. And that's where we have this agency within ourselves to, how do I get back?
Yes.
How do I get back? All the time. How do I get back?
And this is how we change the world too, by becoming more aware of the things that we actually need and stepping out of the rat race.
Yeah.
The hustle and
marketing
bustle.
Of all the things that are thrown in our face, commercialism.
All
the things telling us that we can be a better person by doing X, Y, and Z. And really, it's all in you already.
It's all already. We're like in our essence all the time. We just have to access it.
And understand and appreciate our differences. Which is very hard. I know I deal with that too. Sometimes I look at the Vata people with their smaller framed bodies, and there's this idea that that's the
aesthetic.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's we all struggle with it. We all do. Yeah. But again, stepping back and coming, this is who I am.
Yeah.
This is how I was born, and
And no amount of balance is ever going to make you have a Vata body type. This is something that is life-changing.
I can't change my bones. This is how they are medium to bones.
This is your body is your body is your body, and you can love it, and you can make it your best, and you can give it all the nourishing foods that it needs and wants, and you're not going to change your type, and that's okay. That's who we're supposed to be, who we're supposed to be.
Just working with whatever type that you have to find that balance, which my balance is going to be different than your balance, and we're going to be different than somebody else too.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
So if you've been listening and you've been thinking, well, what is my dosha? Maybe you had some aha moments when we were talking about the different types, or maybe you didn't, but you're curious and you want to know more. I'm going to drop a link to a free quiz in the show notes, so you can go and you can fill out that quiz and kind of get an idea. It's not exact when you fill out those quizzes, but it's a fun way to kind of get an idea of what your dosha type might be. And if you want to go a little deeper into this, you can always meet with me or Devon. You can go to our website, tulananda.com, and you can set up. We do Zoom consultations. We do in-person. We would love to work with you. This is something Devon and I are very passionate about. Mm-hmm. And if you've had any experience with Ayurveda, you know how life-changing it can be. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And if you've enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend, leave a review, and subscribe so that you don't miss future conversations. This is a new thing that we've taken on this year, me and Elizabeth, and we're, like she just said, we're really passionate about it, not just working with you, maybe in other ways, but even just what we're putting out with this content. So for us to be able to continue to do it, reach out to us, share it with a friend, leave a review. And hopefully we can continue to bring awesome Ayurveda goodness your way.
Yes, absolutely. So until next time, may you live in balance, harmony, and joy.